Hey there, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking all about the results of sexual shadow work, why we should do sexual shadow work, just to give you an idea on the transformation that will take place for you once you start working on this part of your life. I think so many people on a self-development journey, they're focusing on all of these different aspects of their life, their career, their purpose, their body. They're out there doing all this breath work and meditation and workshops. But if you're not working on your sexuality, your sex life, and your connection and intimacy to yourself and others through your physical body, you're missing a major piece. This is where your fire comes from, your passion, your authenticity. I just want to plug this before we get started. I'm hosting a live workshop on October 10th. And with the workshop, you get a visualization that you get to do at home to get in touch with your unconscious mind. And you also get a bonus one-on-one session with me. So if you've been following along, watching the YouTube videos, following me on social media, and you're ready to take the step into this work, this is a great way to start. It's only $169 and you get all of that stuff included. Before we get going, all the benefits and what I've seen with clients and how it shows up in their life, I want to start with my life and how I've done this process. So if you've listened to my past videos, I talk all about things like sexual shame, my experiences with this, how I've had to overcome a lot in this area. But really my journey with sexual shadow work did begin in 2019 when I got into online sex work and became a professional dominatrix. Up until that time, I was kinky, but kind of in the closet, and it opened up this whole new world for me where I didn't feel as alone or as ashamed of some of my unconventional desires. And while I wasn't totally out, when I was doing this work, I was out in a certain degree. I was out on social media. I was connecting with other people in the community and just having a space where I could talk to other people. I got myself a kinky mentor. She had been a pro dominatrix for quite some time, and I had her as a coach for a little while. And it started to open me up to be more confident and to really own what I was into and own this part of my life. And while it still took several years to unfold, I will say that that initiation into this part of my journey really did start to unveil parts of myself that had previously been pretty closed off. And I started to see some trends. For example, the clients that I had that were pretty shame-free about what they were doing, either their partner knew or they were really into the scene, those people tended to be pretty successful in other areas of their life. They had a great partner, they kicked ass in their career. And the ones that tended to have more shame or repression, many people came with lots of other issues in other parts of their life. They were in a marriage they weren't happy in. They were partaking in risky behavior, perhaps cruising with strangers, not using protection, finding themselves in abusive relationships. And I know that a lot of my clients back then did get a lot of healing and development work by working with me just because I really loved what I did and I was very non-judgmental. I had many clients come up and say, wow, like so much has shifted in my life just to have you and have someone around that doesn't judge me for these things and celebrates me and is happy to play with me. And I would say, since primarily a lot of my work was online, I would say a large portion of my clients were in that second category. But my big clients, my big money clients, I mean, these were people that were financially successful and had a lot of things going in their life because they truly accepted this part of themselves. They might have just been coming on to the internet to find new people to play with just because they traveled a lot for work, or they had been married for quite some time and the partner really didn't want to play in the way that they wanted to, but allowed them to go online or to see sex workers, and that was okay in their relationship. But I noticed that there was a difference between those people and a lot of the other ones that were coming to me just like filled with shame. And so I saw a lot of that mirrored back to me too, in like what ways I wasn't being authentic in other parts of my life. And while I worked in corporate and I was always pretty good at making money, I always felt like I had to work really hard for it. I always had to prove myself. I always was trying to fit in places that I didn't really fit in, trying to be normal, trying to be conservative. Anyways, after this part of me had been unleashed, so to speak, and I was back out in the wild with this newfound understanding of myself, so much happened. It really did open up parts of my spiritual journey. I'm talking talking after that is when I had my first mystical experiences. I remember I had interviewed for a job and I was able to negotiate like 1.5x the salary that they had originally proposed. The energy was just different. I had this confidence that I did not have before. I spoke out more. I was confident. And then some of you know, if you've listened to some of my past podcast episodes, I experienced a sexual assault. And that brought up a whole new level of sexual shadow work and really having to get in touch with my sexuality in a new way. It led to a new relationship with my body. I had taken a stint of celibacy at the time so that I could emotionally nurture myself and heal. I created a lot of art at that time that had to do with sexuality. It brought up a whole new layer for me of stuff to look at. And when I was getting into Jungian psychology, it was around this time that I had gone through the assault. I really started to put together how the unconscious mind affects our sexuality, how it affects our sexual fantasy life, how it affects our nervous system. I mean, there was a new level of understanding that I was able to gain from this experience. And now the way that I look at this is that your sexuality is fluid. It changes over the course of your life, which is why having the skills to do this deep inner sexual shadow work is so important, because you're likely going to be doing it for the rest of your life. But getting into the practice of questioning and sexual authenticity really does unleash a whole new version of yourself that you wouldn't even believe is possible. And this is what I help people do now. And I feel so blessed to help people with this work, because what I've seen is that there's this greater level of creativity that comes out of the soul once you have a good relationship with your sexuality and your sex life. A new level of self-respect arises, meaning you know what you like and you know what your boundaries are, you know how to communicate them, and there's none of this block in the throat chakra or the body when it comes down to how you express. When you're sexually embodied, sexually awakened, you give off an aura of just like authenticity, magnetism. People will want to be around you more. Also, our relationship with sexuality, it directly relates to our relationship with pleasure in general. So when you really own what is pleasurable for you, life starts serving you up more pleasurable experiences. Just in general, it truly ripples out into all these other areas of your life. Purpose, career, friendships, relationships, all of it. If you're single and you are out there looking for a partner, the people who show up in your field drastically change for the better once you do work on your sexual psyche. If you're partnered, this greatly improves your relationship with your partner when it comes down to, your communication, your boundaries, your intimacy. Our partners usually mirror back to us what's going on with us internally. So if you feel sexually disconnected from yourself, it's likely that your partner will also feel sexually disconnected from you. People really underestimate how palatable your sexual energy is. We are all unconsciously able to pick this up from each other. When someone walks into the room and everybody notices them, that is somebody that has a great relationship with their sexual selves. The person that's least likely to get noticed, the wallflower, the person that nobody thinks of for opportunities, like that is the person that probably has a lot of shame and disconnect from their sexual selves. Also, your sexual center, think your womb center, your sacral center, that is also the center of your intuition, your gut instincts. It is so deeply interconnected. Like I said, once I started doing this work, the more work that I do on this area of my life, the more psychic I become. I also see this with clients. The more that people do this work on their sexuality and their sexual selves, magic starts happening. You suddenly just know what to do. Things just start working out. Your dreams start becoming more vivid for some people. Inspired ideas show up out of nowhere. Because sexual energy and creative energy are so intertwined. It's the same energy. So think new ideas, ability to solve problems easier. You might suddenly have inspiration to write a script for a movie or paint a picture. Like, this work is so good for your inner artist. And I know I'm up here being like, it's everything's connected to sex. It's your sexuality. It's the magic pill, you know? But like, honestly, it kind of is. Just because it is so connected with all of these other things like authenticity, creation, intimacy. It's all the things that make us human and all the things that make us awesome. And if you have had any level of sexual trauma, this is extra super duper important work to do. Or if you've ever had any experiences of sexual shame, feeling ashamed of your desires, feeling ashamed of your sexuality. I tend to get a lot of clients that have been in really religious upbringings. This work really helps you just kind of break free from the conditioning. You know, for a long time, there were lots of messages about our sexuality and about our relationships for systems of power to control things like the birth rate, land ownership. And then societies, of course, would then take this and make it into some kind of moral messaging to keep people in line. And doing this work just kind of frees you from a lot of that archaic programming. And that's all awakening really is, right? It's clearing ourselves of old patterns, programs, and conditioning so that we can live more free and as our true self. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope to see you on October 10th. But if you're ready to just jump in and you want to do a deeper one-on-one container with me, you can always book a free alignment session with me. I always leave the link in the show notes. And as always, if you have any questions about spicy shadow work or questions for me, feel free to shoot me an email, leave a comment, and I'll try to answer. Thanks, everyone. Until next time.